David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So it's been, over a week. This is, almost 2 weeks now since the election, 2 weeks or so. A lot has happened. Many things are going on. Let's start with first the Green Party. So I've said this before, I think on a panel in which you had partook, that I was very impressed with Annamie Paul's performance at the English languages debate. I think she also did well at the French languages, but at the English languages, I really enjoyed her presence. I knew that her leadership experience leading up to the election had been, very dramatic with internal fighting and lawsuits and all this nonsense. But it's now gone. Like she's resigning.
Yeah, it's really troubling for people who care about representation in the political system. I mean, in her own words, she crashed through the glass ceiling and then it crumbled at her feet and she had to crawl through it. And I think that was a pretty good way to describe how she's been treated by the Green Party. It's a real shame because she's a serious thinker. She's a serious political candidate. And although she wasn't successful, it doesn't feel like she's being pushed out because she wasn't successful. It feels like she's being pushed out for other reasons. And I think that that's really unfortunate.
I've worked in various capacities in politics and been surrounded by politics for 25 years or so. And I don't recall ever, when we know that there's an election coming right up, that a party would go after its leader in such a fashion. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I was a leadership candidate in a very dramatic leadership, but I'm thinking federally. And I remember reading the headlines about the lawsuits and this. I thought, maybe just give her a chance. We're going into the election anyways. If you don't like her at the end, of course, have a leadership review. But I really felt it was stacked up against her. And I'll tell you, the reason I thought she handled herself so well is she really, she put it to Trudeau, calling him at one point a fake feminist, defending some of these former Liberal MPs who were ousted from the party, some of these women. She challenged Blanchet, from the leader of the Bloc Québécois, on his position on perceived racism or alleged racism and religious intolerance with Bill 21. She was forceful on that.
Yeah, she was regardless of whether you agree with her political stances, I think the overwhelming consensus is that Canadians want more of that substance because the politics of the day can really lack substance at various points, and that gets tiresome. And so she was a breath of fresh air. And so it really is a shame to see her go. And it really makes me question whether or not the Green Party is serious about actually making electoral gains at any point. Because they had capable leadership and really internal squabbling stacked the deck against her and really forced the outcome in regards to what we've just seen. So it's really sad that she's gone, but I'm sure that wherever she ends up next, she's still going to be that kind of positive force for what she believes in.
Now, I don't think she's going to be the only leader of a federal party that we may see resign or ousted. Immediately after this last election, just a couple weeks ago, we saw the call come out to get rid of Aaron O'Toole from one of his own executive members.
Yeah, and I thought it was in bad taste to do something like that publicly. I always find it a bit it's a bit lame when people share open petitions that anyone can sign and then they say, see, there's so many people who want to oust Aaron O'Toole. I think he does probably have a considerable amount of support in caucus, but that really depends on where that member of parliament is sitting and what their persuasion is. I would say mostly in regards to social policy, things
or even Alberta with the oil and gas.
Sure, yeah, that's actually another very good point. Whether or not he stays on, I think, is a tricky question because he has more support, in my opinion, than Andrew Scheer did post 2019 in terms of members of caucus wanting to back him moving forward. There are questions of whether or not a leadership race would be good for the party. I think it really boils down to he moved to the left, both socially and fiscally. And I think he could have done a better job of threading the needle if he remained a little more steadfast fiscally and did move a little bit to the left on social policy. And we saw that in regards to his stance on a woman's right to choose.
Okay, I'm going to pause you
He-
there. We've got to jump to commercial. We'll pick this up right in a moment.
No problem.